Welcome. On today's episode of Factual Films, we will be discussing the early 2000s film trilogy, The Lord of the Rings. It's difficult to imagine anyone other than Viggo Mortensen in the role of Aragorn, but did you know that he wasn't originally the first choice for the role? Originally, Nicolas Cage of all people was offered the role, which he later turned down due to family obligations. The role was then offered to Russell Crowe of Gladiator fame, who also passed on the role. After both of these failed castings, director Peter Jackson decided the role should go to a more seasoned actor. Now in the need of an older actor, Jackson went to Viggo Mortensen, who took up the role at the urging of his son Henry, who was a huge fan of the books at the time.
By all that you hold dear, this good earth, I bid you stand! Men of the West!
Early on in the development process, before it found its eventual home at New Line Cinema, the Lord of the Rings trilogy was being made at Miramax. As Peter Jackson would later recall, Bob Weinstein really thought one of the four main hobbits should die. "Well, we can't have them all surviving," Bob Weinstein said. "We've got to kill a hobbit. I don't care which one, you can pick. I'm not telling you who it should be. You pick out one of the ones that you want to kill, but we've really got to kill one of those little hobbits." In a situation like that, you just nod and smile and say, well, maybe there's something we should be reconsidering here. And we aren't talking about the hobbits.
You can drink the whole town dry. And find a beer so round, but you never find a beer so round. And we drinking that so round is the one we drink in our whole town.
We all remember the stunning imagery of 300-some soldiers and their horses standing on a hill ready to charge into battle. But did you know that not all of those riders were men? A good chunk of the riders of Rohan in The Two Towers and The Return of the King were actually women outfitted with fake beards. There are some very good women riders in New Zealand, and it'd be silly not to take advantage of them, Viggo Mortensen said in an interview for The Two Towers. Personally, I agree. After all, who doesn't love a good bearded lady? Am I right? It's well known that all three Lord of the Rings movies were shot in one long stretch over the course of a few years. As with most movies, the shoot wasn't consecutive, meaning on any given day the schedule included scenes from all over the trilogy.
Potatoes. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
Possibly the most extreme example of this has to do with the scene in Return of the King, where Frodo, urged by Gollum to think Sam has betrayed him, orders his loyal sidekick to go home back to the Shire. First, Sam's part was filmed, and then Frodo's was filmed a year later. In the mid-1900s, when actor Christopher Lee and author J.R.R. Tolkien were in correspondence, Tolkien gave Lee his blessing to play Gandalf if there ever was a film version of The Lord of the Rings. Many years later, when it was announced that a trilogy of films was being planned, Lee campaigned for the part of Gandalf in the production, but was offered the part of Saruman instead. Lee, who wanted to participate in the project in any way he could, accepted the role, and he became one of many memorable villains that the film fans love today.
A new power is rising. Its victory is at hand.
Well, folks, that's all the Lord of the Rings facts we have for you today. As always, like, share, subscribe, and have a wonderful day.